What is going on, YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. You guys know what today is. It's Monday. That means it's Marvel Movie Mondays. You guys, I am excited. You guys see the background. You know what we're going to be talking about today, you guys. I was supposed to get this video out last week, and I apologize for that. So today, a Marvel Movie Monday, we're going to have two film reviews. I'm going to do this one, Captain America, the First Avenger, and the Avengers, because I really want to get out my ranking video for all of Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, ranked from the worst to the best, in my opinion. I want to get that video out sometime this week. Also, I'm still going to do my Wonder Woman 1984 review, spoiler review, with my brother. I'm just trying to figure out how to, what day would be best to work with my brother and get that video out. So you guys, we have a lot to look forward to this week, but today is Marvel Movie Mondays, and we're going to be talking about Captain America, the First Avenger. This film gives us Chris Evans as Captain America, and I'm not going to lie, you guys, I was really apprehensive when I heard about this because for those who know Captain America, those who don't know, Chris Evans portrayed Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four franchise, which came out in the 2000s, and I actually liked the Fantastic Four films as a kid. I mean, as somebody who reviews films now, I'm more knowledge in knowing that these films are not as good when it comes to superhero movies, but I think for the most part you can enjoy them and have a good time with them. So I was really apprehensive when I heard Chris Evans being cast in the role to play Captain America, but after watching this film and watching the direction that they took the character throughout the whole entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't think they could have got a better actor to portray Captain America. So this film starts in the actually no, it doesn't start in the 1940s. It starts in present day. They find Captain America's ship and the Tesseract. Full spoilers for this review, by the way. They find the Tesseract, they find the ship, and then we go back to the 1940s, and that's where we meet Steve Rogers, and he's a scrawny young kid. And Chris Evans, just a sidebar, for this film, they actually took his head and put it on another actor's body, a body double or whatever, because he's really scrawny and really small, and so before he becomes Captain America, of course. So basically in this film, we have Chris Evans as Captain America. We have Hugo Weaving as the big bad, the Red Skull. We have Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, who's also going to play a big role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward after this film. Haley Atwell portrays Peggy Carter, Steve Rogers' love interest. Tommy Lee Jones portrays Colonel Chester Phillips, which is like the officer in command of like the military, not the whole military, but just he's like Steve Rogers' commanding officer, basically. So with all of that going on, oh, and Stanley Tucci plays Abraham Erskine in this film, and that is the guy who created the super soldier formula. So ultimately what happens is that Steve Rogers tries to enlist multiple times. He uses other people's names, other people's addresses, everything just to get in. He's denied multiple times because he's frail, he's sickly looking, he's not, you know, the military, and I can speak to this because I'm a veteran, I'm still serving myself. A lot of times with getting in the military, when you have like even something as small as asthma or any kind of condition, sometimes you get denied for things like that. Maybe not asthma per se, but I know for a fact when I went through basic training, there were people who got, you know, didn't make it because of health conditions, things like that. I'll talk about that some other time. But yeah, so I know that really happens. So he gets denied multiple times. Ultimately, he meets Abraham Erskine. And what happens is he was actually going to go lie on his enlistment again, and this was like at the Stark Expo, because Howard Stark, Tony Stark's father's in this film. They were at the Stark Expo. He's going to go lie again because Bucky had come back from basic training and was getting ready to ship off to Germany or London or somewhere like that. So that's what Steve was going to go do, and that's when he crosses paths with Erskine, and Erskine decides, you know, because it's something he sees in Steve. There's something he sees in Steve, like, and this is kind of like, they talk about this throughout the film, when Steve does go to basic training, before the super soldier formula and everything, he gets transformed, he actually shows signs of, he does have, you know, heart. He does care about his fellow man, because there's a scene where they're at basic training, Colonel Phillips throws a grenade, and every man there runs, and Steve actually jumps on top of it, you know, showing his selflessness. Like, I love this about Captain America. So that's ultimately why Erskine chose him. And so he basically, Howard Stark and Agent Carter and Erskine, they all have a role to play in him becoming Captain America. So they go to the demonstration. He's changed into, he becomes bigger. It's actually Chris Evans, and it looks normal. Because sometimes with the CGI with his head on the smaller guy, the stunt double, it looks a little weird. So Erskine gets assassinated by a Hydra agent because that's who, I guess, I don't know exactly why. I guess maybe they were trying to, I know in other media they were trying to replicate the super soldier formula, and that's ultimately how the Hulk became the Hulk, was trying to replicate the super soldier formula. In some media, I think in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's what happened. So ultimately what the Red Skull wants to do is become like a god. He wants to get his hands on the Tesseract, which in this film, I don't think it's ever announced to us is an Infinity Stone. I think maybe, definitely the signs were there for it, but I think unless you knew full well like about the Infinity Stones and Thanos and everything before the Avengers and all of that, I didn't know. I knew about certain things, but I didn't know about the Infinity Stones. I had never read the Infinity Gauntlet or any of those comics. So that's ultimately what the Red Skull is trying to do. And what I like about this film, it's really campy. When Steve first becomes the super soldier, he first becomes Captain America, they don't want him to go to war or do anything. They just think he's a laboratory experiment, and he's doing these shows for trying to get people, the American people, to buy weapons bonds and bullet bonds, stuff like that. And a lot of people criticize that about this film. I actually enjoy it. I think it's a good time. It's funny. It makes me feel like I'm immersed in the 1940s. I didn't grow up in the 40s. Matter of fact, my dad didn't even grow up in the 40s. So for me to kind of get this front row seat to see what it was like, I thought that was awesome. And that's what I ultimately feel like makes this film believable, is because we go back to the 1940s. We see the cars, the clothes, the wars, and all of that stuff. And it just makes me feel like I was front row there. So that was awesome. So ultimately what happens is that Bucky and his unit, they get stuck behind enemy lines, and Steve defies all orders from Colonel Phillips, and with the help of Howard Stark and Peggy Carter, he actually is able to go rescue them. And that's when they first start to see, okay, he's the real deal. And we montage through World War II, and all of that's really awesome. So ultimately what happens is that Captain Rogers and Bucky and some of the Howling Commandos, they go to try to apprehend Arnim Zola, who is like the Red Skull's right-hand man, like his lead scientist and all that stuff. So Bucky gets blown out of the train and, seemingly dies. Spoiler alert, he doesn't die. Like I said earlier, he has a role to play in the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. So that was very emotional scene. I really like that. So they capture him and they figure out what the Red Skull's plan is. And ultimately the Red Skull wants to destroy some of the major cities in the world, like France, New York City, London, all like stuff like that. So Steve has to basically stop him. And ultimately what happens with the Red Skull is that, and maybe just a little nitpick with me, he gets his hand on the Tesseract and it's too much power for him. Sidebar for the Infinity Stones in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we learn in Guardians of the Galaxy that only superior beings, like non-normal people, can wield Infinity Stones. Like we see this in other films. You have to be some kind of celestial being or some kind of superhuman being or something. Even Tony Stark has to use the Iron Man suit to hold one of the Infinity Stones. So he basically, when you watch the film, it looks like he gets disintegrated, but spoiler alert, he comes back in a later film. I'm not going to discuss it here. I'll discuss it when I get to it. So Steve has to sacrifice himself to stop the plot, to stop the major cities of the world from being destroyed. So he sacrificed himself, which caused some distress for him and Agent Carter, because they have their romance was kind of like budding. They kind of catching feelings for each other, and ultimately he has to sacrifice himself. And before he does, there's like that emotional scene. He's at the helm of the ship, and he's telling her he'll come back for her, and they'll have their dance and everything. So it's a real tearjerker moment. And he basically sacrificed himself. He doesn't die. He just gets frozen. and we come to present day where at that point we realized the opening scene with the ship and everything, that was where Cap was. So I don't know if he sat there for 70 years or if he sat in a laboratory frozen for 70 years, but I do know that they find him eventually, and basically the epilogue of this film is that he survived and somehow they were able to unthaw him or whatever, bring him back, and so he wakes up in the present day, which at this time would have been 2011, 2012, somewhere around that time. And he's met by Colonel Nick Fury, who informs him, hey, you've been asleep for the past 70 years. And that's ultimately what happens. And, Cap is distraught because his last memory was telling Peggy, that he was going to come back for her. He's going to have his dance. So he actually says something like that, something along those lines. And the film ends there. So you guys, this film is awesome, my personal opinion. Let me talk about the bad, because I think there's only a few bad things that I can say about this film. And not even bad. I think they're nitpicks for me. Hugo Weaving as a Red Skull. There's some times where I don't know if it's because I don't think the CGI or whatever for the actual Red Skull face is bad, but there's something hokey about the performance. Like, Hugo Weaving is an awesome actor. Like I said, I love him in Hacksaw Ridge, all the Transformers movies. I can't think off the top of my head some of his other films. I've seen a lot of his films. I've always enjoyed him as an actor, but I think this one is just a little bit harder to believe. I don't know why. His German accent, I think, is fine. It's just something about the performance that seems off. Maybe it's his God complex. I don't know. I would have liked to see him get another chance to play the Red Skull. And I think if you had taken him out of the 40s, which a lot of Captain America shows and comics do, and they bring the Red Skull into the present day, just like with Captain America, I think it probably would have worked better. That's what I think. I just think it was so campy in the 40s, and I think if he had got a chance to be in the present day, I think that would have been dope. And then just montaging through World War II, I think they could have done that better. I think they could have shown I would have liked to see a darker side to World War II, because when I think World War II, I think the Holocaust, I think the Nazis, those things, and some of those things the Holocaust, I'm not saying they had to put the Holocaust in the film. I'm not saying that at all. That's a terrible thing, what happened during World War II with them trying to wipe out Jewish people. It's an awful thing. But I would have liked to see a darker side of World War II. Maybe see, Normandy, D-Day, some of these things. We see, they show VE Day via, a newspaper clip and stuff. But I would have liked to see, I felt like they could have immersed Captain America into the historical elements of World War II. It focused more on him and his personal struggles. I felt like they just could have done one of the real battles or something like that. I thought that would have been cool, and not just montage through it, because it's that's kind of part of the reason we're watching this movie. With Wonder Woman, they put it in World War I. There were some really awesome battle scenes there. With this film, they kind of just montaged through it casually. So that's my only thing. But I love Chris Evans as Captain America. I think it was one of the best decisions they could have made. I love all the supporting cast in this film. I think all the cast is awesome. I like the 1940s setting. I like the campiness. I just overall enjoy this film, you guys. And with Captain America, I think Captain America is the only franchise in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, even including the Avengers films, where as the sequels are coming out, they just kept getting better and better and better. I'm not going to spoil the Winter Soldier and Civil War here, Captain America Civil War, but I just think they got better. And I think ultimately Cap has one of the strongest story arcs within all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So you guys, have you seen this film? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Oh, I almost forgot to rank it. Awesome on my scale. I don't think it could have been any better. I don't mean that. The film could always be any better. I don't think it could have. There's not much they could have done that would have improved on it that much. I think it's awesome. Like I said, there's flaws in every film, but I dug this film. I enjoy rewatching this one. And seeing Chris Evans in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and later films, coming back to this one, I just like the simplicity of it, where we weren't dealing with Thanos and all those things. So, you guys, that's awesome. This film, like I said, is an awesome time. It's a good time with family, friends, and significant other. So, you guys, I'm going to also be doing the Avengers review today, because I want to get out my review on... not my review. I want to get out my ranking on the Phase 1 films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe from the worst to the best. I want to get that out sometime this week, maybe even today. We'll see. because this review was supposed to come out last Monday, and I got caught up with Christmas shopping and everything. So you guys catch me in the next one when I talk about the Avengers, released in 2012, directed by Joss Whedon. See you guys then.